negros y indios nativos somos los verdaderos israelitas.
¿Esto dónde lo dice según el versículo?
Esto dice en la Biblia, está escrita en la Reina Valera.
We got to live in this district. The whitey don't come down here, man, and live in the fucked up houses, man. The whitey don't come down here, man, and have all the fucked up fucking no heat in the fucking winter time. You understand? We do, Jack. So therefore, like, wow, we got to make it a better place. You understand that?
Like they want to make it a racial problem, you know. So we didn't want that, you know. So I jumped in, I put in for my boy, because he's a black brother. You know? So we made an unracial problem.
We the Puerto Ricans should rise up and defend ourselves against these dogs. The North American is trying to steal our identity as Puerto Ricans and call us Americans. We Puerto Ricans are Puerto Ricans till the day we are born, until the day we die.
Chicanos killing Chicanos is what they want. Blacks and Chicanos killing each other is what they want. That's how they run this place. Once we get together, they don't run shit.
All right. Hey, Shalom, y'all. Bashim Yashabrakata. This office calls a yard 5000. The I.S.U.P.K. coming out of California. As always, the Inconvenient Truth coming to you live, as always, every Wednesday night. Just a reminder, don't forget, man, you can also catch us every Mondays, I believe, during the week. You can catch us on I.S.U.P.K. Puerto Rico, El Hogar de la Verdad. You know what I'm saying? You can always check out Captain Asha Parayam and all the brothers there pushing out that big truth, all in Espanol, pa mi raza latina, I.S.U.P.K. Puerto Rico. And don't forget that on Thursday nights at 10 p.m., we got One West Radio straight out of California. Captain Gadahar, as always, putting it down for One West Radio. You know what I'm saying? Also, don't forget, we got that California Lashawan Kadash, I.S.U.P.K. out of Classes every Friday with Priest Kapar out there in Riverside. You know what I mean? Putting it down there. You can also catch the Lashawan Kadash with I.S.U.P.K. Puerto Rico, and he's breaking down. The Cap is breaking down the Lashawan Kadash in Spanish, brother, in Espanol, carnal. So people who want to learn that Spanish, you know what I'm saying? Lashawan Kadash, you can jump on that class. We're right there giving it up. You know, so make sure you tune in. We're right there giving up those classes. And don't forget the 53rd annual Passover coming up, April 15, 2020 at sundown. You know what it is. Join us for that feast of the Passover that's coming up on the 53rd feast of the Passover coming up. Don't forget to join us there. As always, man, we're putting it down. And the water, everybody, for jumping on and joining in the classes. As always, man, you know we got this class going on. It starts at 8:30, 8:25. So jump in. We're here for you. You know what I'm saying? Any questions, anything you want to know, you could always hit us up and write up the comments, write up the questions. That's what we're here for. We're here to put it down and give you guys that breakdown if we can. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, we're going to get this class started. The water for jumping in. Hope you enjoyed that video. You know what I'm saying? Most High in Christ, and big ups to all the brothers who came out from Texas out to California this weekend and joined camp with us and had camp in Hollywood. Man, it was a great time. If you in the ISUPK, you ever in California, man, look us up. You know what I mean? We're going to show you that hospitality, you know, that only Mexicans, well, I'm going to say all the 12 tribes, you know what I'm saying, that we put out for all our brothers and sisters in the ISUPK. Man, come on in. Let's get together, man. Let's see what it's all about. Let's hang out. Let's get a drink. Let's go to camp. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's get this started, man. We're going to go into a little bit of the history of the Taino brothers and sisters, man, because you know the title of the class, that we are a warrior people. We know that precept. The Lord is a man of war, and Yahweh is his name. You know what I'm saying? And we're men of war too. You know what I'm saying? The Aztec people, the Mexica people, the Toltec people, the Mayan people, we were men of war. You know what I'm saying? Like, we did not stand for the conquest. I have put on my show before when we went into the conquest of Mexico and what happened with Mexico for during the conquest. It wasn't that Mexicans lost the war against the Spaniards because they were better than us. We lost the war against the Spaniards because we separated, because there was a lot of how could I say, a lot of Aztec people or indigenous people who chose to join the side of the Spaniards. You know what I'm saying? They chose to join the side of the Spaniard, and with that created a war against their own brothers and sisters. Sound familiar? That's what we see today here in here in America. You know what I'm saying? With the black and Hispanic, man, we see a war against each other. We seem to be coming against each other, knowing that we have a common enemy and that this enemy has destroyed us completely. Whether it be physically, whether it be mentally, whether it be culturally, whether it be financially, man, we've been destroyed completely by our enemy, which is just so happens to be the enemy. What is that? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And we should understand that if you're an enemy with a Hispanic people, man, they should be your friends, because your true enemy is that white man. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Has come around and destroyed us completely. You know what I mean? And we should learn better, man. We should already, man, it's been what, 500, 600 years for the Hispanic people, 500 years for the indigenous people, and I'm going to say 400 years for my black brothers and sisters, in that order, you know, because the first ones to go down were the Hispanic tribes, the Taínos, los Mexicanos, and then right after that came our native Indian brothers, and then right after that came our Judite brothers from West Africa. When you look at that story, you understand that this is the order that it went down. This is how we were destroyed. They first came to this place and took the Taino people. So today we're going to learn a little bit about the Taínos. You know what I'm saying? We're going to learn a little bit about what happened to them. And the chronicles that I have are written in Spanish, so I got to translate from Spanish to English. So you're going to bear with me, but it's you know, that's the way it goes sometimes, man. I try to bring out the best that I can, and I look and dig into Hispanic history, and to be able to make that work, you know. So let me get this real quick and get started. Once again, I want to thank everybody for jumping on. You got any questions or anything you want to ask, you know, you might as well feel free to, you know, throw them out there and get this started. You know what I mean? Let me see. Give me 1 second while I bring Oscar War in the house today. While I bring Oscar War, so lock your Oscar War. You know, I just got this started and I was trying to move forward. So, but I got you in here right now. So let me get you in here real quick. And we got Oscar War coming in. You know what I'm saying? So give us 1 quick second while I bring him onto the page. Right? Anybody else, man? You out there? You trying to get in and get some study? What the heck? Give me 1 second. What is this talking about? Let me see. Man, today it's asking me for a security check. What the hell? White man's the devil the Bible speaks of, man. Without a doubt. You know, why would he do this to me today? Let's see. Oscar, I don't know what's going on. It's asking me to give him a security check. I have no idea what that means or where that's coming from. We're not doing anything different than we usually do. Let me try to get it again. Copy the clipboard. Go to Messenger. Let's try this one more time before we start the class. Salaka, everybody. We're trying to get Oscar War on here. and we're a little late, so that's why. Getting anyone in class already starting to make it a little bit more difficult, man.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know what's going on. It's telling me it can't log you on. Okay, anyway, so let's go on. Salakia, everybody, for that. So, where was I at? I can't log you in. I don't know why it's telling me to give you the security. You can jump in here, and we can get you in as we usually do, like that. You know what I'm saying? That's the best I can do right there. Man, don't know what happened there today. Anyway, so let's go into the Taino people, right? And of course, our precepts are all going to be about our us and how we are warrior people. You know what I'm saying? So if you got any precepts on that, you can bring them out. That's what we're going to get into. And let's go straight forward with what we're talking about here. So once again, the Taino people, we're going to go into the Taino people because just like the Aztecs, just like the Native American Indians, man, the Taino people, you know, we have a history that tells us that the Taino people were wiped out. The Taino people went, and that the Spaniards, this is a story we're familiar with, that the Spaniard went and wiped out the Taino people off of the island of Borica. You know what I'm saying? That's what we all hear. These people came, they wiped them out, they fought them, they practically had their way with them. You know what I'm saying? When we hear about the Aztec people, the relative story that we hear all the time is the same. The Spaniard came to Mexico and wiped out the Aztec Indian. That's not necessarily so. You know, many people don't know about the what is that? The Mixta Wars. The Mixta Wars were a set of battles that took place in Mexico, Michoacan, Mexico, Jalisco, different areas where the indigenous, I'm gonna call them the indigenous people of Mexico. Once the Spaniard came and took over Mexico, the indigenous people did not give in to their ways so easily.
Right.
What the indigenous people did was gather together in a set of wars called the Mixta Wars, and they gathered together to fight the Spaniards in their own homes. So they would set up what are they like? What are the houses here where the slaves were at? What would you call them? The plantations. Mexico had plantations too. Ours were called haciendas. So in America, the black man worked on the plantations. In Mexico, the Mexican people worked on haciendas. The haciendas were properties taken or land taken from the indigenous people and given to Spaniards. The way they were given was through Spain giving parcels or land to certain Spaniards. So they would come over here and they were already issued land. You know what I'm saying? Cortez had people who he had already issued land to. Diego Duran had land issued to him already. He did not even come to Mexico yet when already he was on his way to claim the land that was given to him. And like that, many hacenderos had the same thing. They came already with the plan that they had that was already land given to them. And if I can find my book, I'm gonna try to find my book, and I'm gonna break down some of them. Why not? You know what? I not. So let me go into that. So this is what happened with the Mexican people. Now, I hear a lot of stories. You know, the Mexican people, they're a mixed people. That's why they're this color and that color. We hear that all the time. But fortunately for the Hispanic people, Mexico has a history that's being uncovered even now that dates back to pre-Columbian times. That means they got written history that even today is being broken down and discovered. Artifacts, writings on walls, books known as the Codex. All these historical documents still exist in Mexico City and in Mexico and Yucatan Peninsula and Honduras, Guatemala. They're still bringing out a lot of archaeological evidence to who we were and what kind of people we were, to our customs, to our way of life, you know, to a medicine, mathematics, what is that? Agriculture. What else? Go ahead.
So like, so I have a precept.
Okay, one more. Agriculture and architecture were the main things that our people were well versed at. You know what I'm saying? Like we were excellent at all these things. Now go ahead with that precept.
So this is Revelations chapter 12, verse 16. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. If I could, sir.
Go ahead.
This is touching on what you're saying, sir. When in Revelation is a vision, right? Okay. And when it says, and the earth helped the woman, in this verse, the woman is talking about the nation of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and American Indians today. So the earth helped us, and the earth opened her mouth. Meaning what? The earth is talking about archaeology. It's talking about history. It's talking about relics, like Officer Kazak God is bringing out. He's saying that more history is coming out. All this history is gonna help identify who we are today. You understand? If you go check out the book, if I could, real quick, a sidebar, Captain Kataza of 13,000, I believe, he was on the show last week. He came out with a book with a bunch of evidence and links to books and to areas where you can study that shows that the so-called Mexicans specifically are of the 10 tribes of Israel. It's called Issachar, son of Jacob, Unindoctrinated. You should go get that book. It's on Amazon. You can order it through Kindle or you can buy it physically. You understand? But the point is, what's happening now with us finding history, archaeology, and artifacts is all prophesied. All this is happening. Why? Because the earth is going to help us. You understand? And it's already been helping us. There's tons of archaeology, tons of relics, tons of artifacts that have already came out to show that we are the people in the Bible.
Absolutely, absolutely, no, absolutely true. And you know, when we read the Bible and it tells us these things, we should know not to shun our archaeological evidence, and that tells us that we should go even deeper, you know, into our archaeological evidence and our culture. Like us as Raza, we should dig deeper into our culture. You know what I mean? You know, all the sisters who watching, the water for watching, Stephanie, Jessica, Sister Renaa, the water for jumping on, you know, Shakawaya. But listen, we all need to understand that by learning our heritage, our culture, we learn more about ourselves, because we know now that before we thought we were just, you know, Aztecs or Mayans or, you know, this and that. But now we understand that we are God's chosen people. Right. And with that in mind, as we dig deeper into our culture, we found out how beautiful our culture is because the Lord gave us this culture. Right. Because since we're God's chosen people, why else would we be so great? Why else would we do the things we do? You know what I mean? What other explanation could we possibly think of why we are such a great people? Right. You know, you see, for the sisters, you know, in Mexico, they have the beautiful Mexican dresses that they make. You know, the Mexica outfits they make, the dresses that are being made, the headpieces, and then you wonder, why does that look so colorful? Why is it so beautiful? The style and everything. Well, now you know, because we come from a source that gave us that. The Lord gave us that. That was our gift. And it's, what is it? We're the salt of the earth.
I'll get that for you.
And that's why we're like that, because we are the salt of the earth, because we have all that, because we have so much flavor that, you know, a lot of people see that, oh, you know, Judah has a lot of flavor on the basketball field, singing, you know what I'm saying? And they got groove and, you know, they got all these things. But how about us? We also got that. When you look at our culture, man, how beautiful our culture is. I was reading a book on the Aztec culture, especially on the Tlaxcala culture and Texcoco. And when I read that book and I read them describing the city, and these are Spaniards who wrote this book and are describing the city, man, when I hear the description of the city and what these people are seeing, it's like you're reading and it's taking you back to like a magical place. Like it's impossible to, like, even words to describe what they saw. They're trying to describe it as best they can with the blue waters and the mountains and the homes and the way people were, and the bird cages at the houses, and the flowers that decorate each home, the baths that each house had, the colors of all the homes that are there that they walk by, you know, the 2-story homes. Like, it's incredible when you start hearing the culture that we had. It's like making America look small in comparison to how we were. That's the salt of the earth. And our brothers have salt, and we got our own salt. I'll say the brothers got that type of salt, and we got that other Himalayan type of salt. You know what I'm saying? Like different salt, and they all of different flavors. Go ahead, Oscar Ward.
Constant. I just want to say, and I got the preset for you too, whenever you want me to read it, sir, if you want. And I also wanted to say, you know, for anybody who actually studied that history about how, who was it? Hernan Cortez, is he the one who showed up to Tenochtitlan?
Khan.
Whoever read that, you understand, you read how he described it. You understand? For example, they wrote that one of the soldiers who was with him told a fellow soldier, or something along those lines happened, and he told his fellow soldier, "It feels like I'm dreaming," because of how beautiful it looked when they arrived to this land of the Aztecs. You understand? Because they were such a great people, and seeing this place compared to where they came from was like incredible. Now for you not to consider that we are God's people based on that, you got to be a fool. You got to be a fool to understand that we were such a great people that it felt like this guy was in a dream. Now, why were we such great people? I mean, you at least have to consider, well, maybe because we're God's people. You know what I'm saying, sir?
Khan, absolutely. And let me tell you something. I'm big on posting of pictures of Aztecs and the dancers and everything. And I'll tell you something. I understand that that's not really my culture. The Mexica was not really, everybody's culture. It was an indigenous people. It's not all of ours. But I'll tell you something, man. To see God's chosen people in the beauty, in their mind, their beauty. Imagine how much more beautiful we'll be when we come back to the Lord and we start making our gear as we do today, right? When you look at these brothers in the I.S.U.P.K, all of us, man, like we're doing the best to get the sisters to make us the finest clothes, the best looking clothes. I know a lot of sisters out there that are making a lot of garments now, and we got that sister in Texas. I'm trying to think of her name. It kind of blew me away. Mariam, beautiful clothing that she makes. When brothers need.
You're talking about the Judite sister?
No, the Hispanic sister, the Israelite sister. Yeah, she's from Texas. She's the one. She just sent Lahab a vest, amazing. A beautiful, amazing vest. Absolutely. And when you start looking at these things, you realize how much flavor we got. And I know a lot of the sisters, the Judite sisters, man, they've been making clothes. Judite brothers who make the war scarves, who make the what is that? The gauntlets, the armbands, brothers who make the headbands. You start seeing the beauty of Israel. Like we bringing it back. These Jews, these white Jewish imposters, man, they don't even get close to the beauty that's being produced in the I.S.U.P.K by the brothers here. You know what I'm saying? Now that's something to look at. Let's go into the war because that's where we're at. You know what I'm saying? So we start to understand that, when you look at the cultures, Judah had its revolutions, their uprisings during the time of slavery. They had great people who had to uprise and come out and try to save their people. You know what I'm saying? You had the Native American Indians. You had a lot of Indian warriors who rose up, Sitting Bull and all of them who rose up also to fight against what was happening to them. In Mexico, I'm pretty sure you've caught some of my shows where also I've named a lot of Aztec warriors, Purupeche warriors who came up and came forward in strength and honor and died for their people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. As we see, like I said before, the Aztecs lost their kingdom because there was indigenous people who joined the Spaniards in order to conquer and bring down the Mexica Empire, because that's what it really was, the Mexica Empire. And maybe perhaps I should go into that a little bit so you can get some understanding of what I'm talking about. So during the Spaniard colonization of Mexico, the Mexica were a tribe that took power after the Toltecs had lost their power. The Mexica came in as a nomadic tribe, and they came into Mexico, into Nahuatl, and what they did was establish an empire using the bloodline of the Toltecs. Mexica king married into the Toltec bloodline in order to take power, and that's the way the Mexica rose up to be the ruling class in Mexico. You know what I'm saying? One of the things that the Mexica had is that they were a people that were that made sure that everybody paid tribute to them, and a lot of the tribes refused to pay tribute to the Mexica people. But there's a precept in itself, right? Because if we read that precept, if you can find it,
which one, sir?
It's the precept that says that Issachar is a people of tribute. You know what I'm saying? And listen, when you look at this, when you look in the Old Testament, man, Issachar is the only tribe that's mentioned as a people of tribute. So like we pay tribute. That was given to us to do. A people of tribute. And all of Mexico paid tribute to the Mexica. Now let me tell you something. Even before that, we still pay tribute. We always pay tribute. The only thing is that the Mexica would take, how could I say, they were more like taking advantage of people and asking for more tribute than what was necessary. And that's why that's why other tribes were against the Mexica people. You got that precept? Go ahead.
The book of Genesis, chapter 49, verse 14. Issachar is a strong ass, couching down between two burdens. Verse 15. And he saw that rest was good, and the land that it was pleasant, and bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute.
And became a what?
A servant unto tribute.
We became a servant unto tribute in a place of where we were between what?
Verse 14. Issachar is a strong ass, couching down between two burdens.
We're a strong ass, couching down between two burdens. I'll tell you what our two burdens are. Our two burdens are Mexico and America. Right. Here is a burden that Mexicans have. Right. This is the biggest burden of ours because we're not from Mexico and we're not from America. Like a lot of, I hear a lot of people saying, well, Mexicans, y'all got your own land. We don't have our own land. Our land is being destroyed by the corporations that are not ours. Mexico has no corporations. Other corporations, which are American corporations, British corporations, English corporations, Chinese corporations, Spaniard corporations, they run Mexico. And we're just the people living on our land, but that our land is taken advantage of. How is it that Mexico is so rich in its resources, and yet we live in a third world country? Latin America, complete all of Latin America, is rich in every single natural resource, right? And yet we live in our land as poorer than anybody else. This is the way we live. We're just like the poorest people in our own land. You know what I'm saying? So how is it that us being a great people, having a great land, this gift that's given to us by the Lord, because the Lord gave us this place. He gave us Azareth. The Lord took us to a place where no man had been before. The Lord led us here. And we came here because we thought we could leave, what is it? The worship of other gods. And we could go back to worship the Lord. Well, we were mistaken. Because also, just like in Moses' time, when all of the Israelites came out, there was many Israelites among them that wanted to go back to Egypt, that wanted to do the Egyptian ways, that wanted to have the Egyptian gods, that wanted to keep worshiping idols. And that's what happened to our people. Our people all traveled a year and a half to come over here. But little did we know that many of the people that were with us, many that came along this trip, also bring back idol worship, also bring back the customs that were of old, of the heathen nations, the worship of the sun, the worship of the moon, the worship is of this goddess and that goddess, Anubis, the dog, you know what I'm saying? All these different things, you know what I'm saying? They bring it all, and once again, we were stuck going right back. The water rana, dumb idols. Shalom, Shalama. Good to hear from you, Shalama. Yeah, Shalama out of Texas, out of Las Vegas. Don't forget Las Vegas, man. Classes every week too, man. Tune in. But anyways, so we know that this is what happened to us. When people wonder, well, why do Mexicans used to worship the sun? And why do you worship gods? And why do you worship deities? Well, because a lot of our people bring back those customs. We did not only bring Israel with us, we also bring all those customs that the heathens were once worshiping, because our people are wicked. And I would say that the Mexica people were one of the people that moved in that started doing that all over again. They started doing sacrifices. They started doing all these things that we knew were not good. But man, you know, Israel, we hard-headed. We're going to go right back to where we were at. We're going to go right back to being these people that we're not supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? So once again, the Mexica take place. They gather. They take the city, or they take their place as the ruling class in Mexico, and they did it in a manner which was obviously not the right way to do. You know what I'm saying? And they took that power, and then here comes the Spaniards. So because many people, many tribes did not like the Mexica people, because of they had to pay tribute to them, because of their way of taking tribes and making them amalgamate or come into their tribes, taking their children as warriors, taking their women and taking slaves, well, servants, you know what I'm saying? And this was against other tribes. So what happened is that a lot of tribes were against the Mexica. So the first opportunity that came up, which was the Spaniards found that out through who? Through, what was her name? Malinche. Malinche kind of broke that word. You know, you got these tribes that don't really like the Mexica. You know, these people are so he took advantage. What is it? Psychological warfare. They were like, okay, well, let's get these people on our side. They got them on the side. And when Cortez would attack, Cortez and his Spaniard people didn't attack by themselves. Cortez would bring a fleet of or tribes of people to attack with him. So you had indigenous Hispanics attacking indigenous Hispanic people in Mexico during the conquest. And that's the way we lost the cities. That's the way we lost Mexico. But to go back, that wasn't the end. You know, during the time of the Mixta Wars, many tribes gathered together and decided we don't want to deal with these Spaniards. And many of them would attack the Spaniards' homes, which were the haciendas, and would burn down the haciendas, would burn down their caravans, would destroy their homes. They would do, man, malicious things to them. And the Spaniards could not keep up with the guerrilla warfare that the Hispanic tribes or the Latino tribes or the Mexican tribes were bringing against, were really Nahua tribes. The Nahua tribes were bringing against the Spaniards. And the Spaniards were losing the war in Mexico because the Mexican indigenous people gathered together and bring a war called the Mixta War against the Spaniards. And the Spaniards were losing property, losing their goods, losing men, losing women. They were being destroyed completely. And they had to think of a quick way to end it. And they thought of treaties. They just like the white man, you know, let's get a treaty with the Native American Indian. Why did they have to make a treaty with the Native American Indian? Because the Native American Indian was waging war on the white man. And the war that he was waging, what did the white man do? He killed the buffalo because he thought, well, let's end their food. You know, let's cut their food source. You know, the white man thought of all kinds of ways to destroy the Native American Indian. And these were some of the ways that they also tried to use on the indigenous people of Mexico. But obviously that, you know, that didn't come to flourish. What happened is that, you know, they made a treaty and Spain and Mexico ended up finding some way of working together. Many of our people began to, you know, go in and become, you know, that half Mexican, half Spaniard type a mentality. You know, you had a lot of, what was that? Catholic priests writing about the atrocities committed on the indigenous people of Mexico. You have Bartolomé de las Casas, who wrote about the atrocities that the Spaniards would commit on these people. It was ridiculous. They cut off their arms, they cut off their legs, they cut children in half. You know what I'm saying? these are the kind of things that they would do to these people. And why? Because they were trying to bring fear into the Hispanic people. They were trying to make us fear them by committing atrocities on us. But the Hispanic people in return did the same thing to them. They were like, you're going to fight like this, we're going to fight the same way. We're going to go full out war. And that's exactly what they were doing to the Spaniards. They would burn down their haciendas. They would rape their women. They would kill their children. They would burn their food. They would kill their animals. Anything to bring fear into the Spaniards. And this is the stories that the same Spaniards wrote about, writing about how the indigenous people were not somebody to mess with, how these people were true warriors, how they were true how men of war, put it that way. So with that, a little history of the Mexican people and how we waged war on the Spaniard. We know how our black brothers and sisters waged war on the English here in America. You know what I'm saying? With their revolts and all they had, you know what I mean? And how, man, they couldn't keep up with that either. So let's go into the Taínos and let's see what happened when you talk about the Taínos and they write the story about the Taínos were wiped out, that the Spaniards went and wiped out all Taínos, that it was over, that the Taínos were a humble people, a simple people. What was it? They said they were passive people. But I'm about to read you a story that you haven't heard of, and how the Taíno people are men of war, just the way the Lord is. You got a precept?
Time, sir.
Go ahead.
Time, sir. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 48. Actually, verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. Verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, nor show favor to the young.
And this is why our Taíno brothers and sisters, this is why the Aztecs, the Mexica, the Mayan people, this is why when we went to war, we did not have compassion on them. Like, our people did not have compassion on the Spaniard people. There's stories of Aztec warriors that would chop Spaniards up to little pieces,
right,
just to show fear to the others.
Right.
They had no compassion on them. Let me tell you something, man. I'm going to go a little bit into history, a little forward. Let me tell you something, man. The Chicano people refused to be called American at some point. Right? We were not called Mexican Americans. And we didn't want anything to do with the white man, because we knew how vicious he was. And we knew what a hateful person he was. It's not till now, right, till we've been completely brainwashed, that now we want to love our enemy. That now we want to have, some kind of dealing with them. That now we want to say, oh, they're good people. Not all of them are bad. Not all of them are like this. Now we want to be like that. But let me tell you something. It wasn't not too long ago, maybe 25 years, 20 years back, that we didn't want to have anything to do with them. Now you got black people talking about, well, not all white people are bad.
Right.
Now you got Mexicans talking about, well, you guys are racist because you guys hate white people.
Right.
And now you got people talking about, well, you guys shouldn't hate, you guys should love because God loves everybody.
Right.
Well, that's not necessarily so. Historically, that is not necessarily so. We did not have dealings with these people. Black people didn't have dealings with white people. Black people, they were like, don't go over there because they white. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't even hang out with them. It's not till recently that we want to incorporate with them. What is that called? Join with them. You know what I'm saying? But come on, man. That is not of our culture. Right. That is not of our people. The Indian man hates these people. But, Ashkawar, I was on the res thread. Yeah, I go on the res thread on and off. And I was on the thread of the res, and I seen this native Indian woman, or so-called, I don't know if she is or not, native Indian, talking about that. Who am I to talk about the Native American Indian? Because I was talking about that two-spirit nonsense. And who are you to talk about the Native American? You're racist. She called me a racist. You hate. She says, I hate. You know what I'm saying? She's like trying to tell me that we should love everybody, that it's free to love everybody. Come on, man. The Native American Indian, should be the last person to say that we should love these people.
Right.
I mean, we should all be like that, but the Native American Indian, more than anybody, man, like my heart is for these people. More than anybody, Native American Indian should like completely separate from the white man. No one, if anybody on that thread defends the white man, it's because they not Native American Indian. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
Also, too, sir, I think it stems from like, you know, when people say, oh, I'm not a racist, right?
John.
Because the word racist nowadays is understood as someone who murders people just because of their skin color. But that's not a racist. That's what the oppressor is. You understand? He's a murderer. He'll murder a Mexican just because he's brown, just because he's selling corn. He'll murder a black person just because he's black, just because he's happy. We've seen it all through history. I'm not making this up. That's not being racist. That's just being a murderer. You understand? Racist is when you love your people over another people. When you think your people are better than another nation of people. You understand? That's racist. So it's the same thing with we can't hate. Why? Because I feel like it stems from the idea that if you hate, then you hate like the oppressor. You know, because Native Americans don't want to hate the people who have been raped, robbing, and murdering them. So I feel like if they say I hate them, I feel like they're saying, well, I would do the same thing to them. I would murder their people for no reason. When that's not the case, you understand? It's okay to say that. It's okay to say that you hate these. If you're Hispanic, it's okay for you to hate white people. There's nothing wrong with it. It's absolutely justifiable through history. They raped, robbed, and murdered your people. They took your land, and now you're at the bottom and they're on top. White people today didn't murder you. They never did nothing to you. You don't have a problem with them, but they're benefiting from the murders of their fathers. You understand?
Absolutely.
And they still don't respect you.
Absolutely.
You understand? It's like, so it's okay to not like these people. There's nothing wrong with it. You understand? If they don't understand it, then that's their problem. Now, once again, if I could, sir, we're not saying go out there and hate, physically harm white people. No. Treat them like anybody else. You understand? Right. Be civilized, but just know you don't have to love them.
Absolutely. So now that we know this, now that we know how we are, you know, the Native American Indian brothers, you know what I'm saying? The Mexican brothers, the Judite brothers. Let's go into the Boricua brothers. You know, for those of you Native American Indians who are like, oh, who are you to speak? Well, you know, I'm California Indian, if you want to put it like that. Uto Aztecan, if you want to put it like that, because Mexico was Arizona, was Texas, was California, was all this part, right? That's what it was. So this is territory for Mexican Indian. And through our ancestors, we carry the blood of our ancestors. And our ancestors were these people who roamed these lands 600 years before, you know what I mean, the conquest, or even more. So let's go into our Taino brothers. Today we're going to learn a little bit of the bravery and the strength and the power our Taino brothers had. So pay close attention, because you know it's always good that we learn our history. So we're going to go into the year 1513, and in 1513, on the island of Borican, right, which is Puerto Rico, there was an establishment or a town that was made by the Spaniards. It was called Caparra, right? So through a cacique is a commander. Through the cacique Hamacao was his name. This is an Indian cacique of those times. What he did was he was the Taino Indian who laid this place to waste. Like, he went and attacked Caparra and destroyed this place. He leveled it. He burned everything in that place. He made a Caparra desolate. You know what I'm saying? Like this cacique Hamacao, which was a great warrior, came into that city, or that town, right, of Caparra, and he waged war on them. Why did he wage war? Because the Taino Indian was fed up with the treatment that the Spaniards had on the Taino people. They were fed up with seeing their people dying. They were fed up with the oppression. They were fed up with all that was happening. That this soldier, this valiant man, this warrior, Hamacao, had to go in there with his people and level that place and destroy it. He didn't pick a little town. He picked the most important town to go in there and destroy it. You know what I'm saying? So let me go into a little bit of the reading, right? Like I said, it's in Spanish, so you know I'm gonna take a little time on it, right? So those that had to participate not only was the Taínos, not only was Hamacao, but other caciques. There was Dagao, there was Guayanay, there was Yabicocao, there was Canovax, there was the cacique Bique, Casimira, and Yaribo. Now let me tell you something. The Chronicles, it says the Chronicles of the Spaniards described as Casimira and Yaribeo. They were indigenous from the Caribe. It says they were Calipangos. Ya se ha comprobado que los arqueólogos de la isla de Borica hasta Chiquimé, Guadalupe eran taínos y no Caribe. So they're saying that all the islands, it's proven that all the islands from the east of Borican all the way to Subiqueria, which is Guadalupe, were all Taínos and not Caribbeans. So what does that mean? That means, because I hear, you know, when I read this, I had to bring it because I hear a lot of fake Israelites talking about, oh, you know, all the Antilles and all of them, they all black brothers, you know, they all Africans, they all the African brothers are right there. That's their origin is all Africans. Everybody else there is half-breed. But history shows, and this archaeological evidence that we bring out, that says that all the islands from Boricua, Puerto Rico, all the way to Guadalupe were all Taino people. So Arawak, Taínos were the major population of all these islands. And it made me wonder, when I was reading this, it made me wonder because when Christopher Columbus got to that island, the Taino people told Christopher Columbus that more of their people existed on the other islands. They let them know that there was more of them on the other islands. And this is that connection right there, where the reason why the Taino Indians said more of our people live on the other islands is because the other islands were Taino islands, is because Taínos were on all the islands, on Boricua, on Puerto Rico, on Cuba, on Guadalupe, on all these islands. Yeah, it was after the slave trade, right? When the slave trade came in, which was, what is that? Years after, couple of maybe, I don't know, I don't want to say 100 years, but years after that, they started bringing in slaves into the islands for the sugar plantations. You know what I'm saying? They bring slaves to the island of Puerto Rico. They bring slaves to the islands of Cuba, to the islands of Haiti, Guadalupe, Santo Domingo. All these places were where the slave trade bring in, where they started putting all the slaves in. And that's why now you had the mixture of Taino Indian with black slaves. That's why now you see all these what is it? Manasseh, right? What is it? Who else? Levi, Naphtali. That's why you see Levi, Manasseh, and a lot of these other tribes coming into the islands and settling there. And I'm going to say, well, 10 tribes, right? Because they all came out and settled out here. But really, when you start seeing the Levites in them, you start realizing that a lot of the Levites in them started coming there because of the slave trade. But before that, Taínos were the ones who ruled that. So it says it's approximately from 1513 to 1515. It was the time of this war that they had, the Taínos in Borica, against these Spaniards. And the Spaniards described Casimira and Yauribo as fierce fighters. He describes these two as men of fierce fight. Like these men were killers, right? These were Taino men who were ready to fight, ready to die. It says, Por eso los españoles los tildan de indígenas de descendencia caribe. He says that's why the Spaniards were like, man, these people gotta be from the Caribbeans. These people have to be like fierce because, man, the way they fought, they could. Taínos were known as mellow people, right? People that were, mellow, not so vicious as these. So they were like, man, these people can't be from here because they vicious as hell. Delgado también fue uno de los españoles, los tilden de los siguientes de la ascendencia caribe. Delgado también fue un cacique que luchó fuerzamente. So Delgado is another man. It says Delgado also was a cacique that fought ferociously, is the word they use. El Baray Diego Colón ordenó construir un pueblo en el este para resistir los ataques indígenas. So Diego Colón ordered the construction of another town to resist the attacks of the indigenous. But it didn't last not even 6 months. El pueblo de Santiago, right, posiblemente en lo que es hoy municipio Nagabo, fue arrasado por los taínos. So the town of Santiago, which was another town they made, was also completely destroyed. When they say arrasado, that means completely destroyed. Like arrasado means like it got swept, like destroyed. Also destroyed by the taínos. And it was also in the east. No quedó un solo español vivo, right? Se le atribuyó a Jamacao, Yadugao y Yoribe el ataque de Santiago, diciembre de 1514. So they said that not a single Spaniard lived. They didn't let a single Spaniard alive. They didn't leave a single Spaniard alive. And it was Jamacao, Dagao, and Yoribe who destroyed this place and wiped out everybody, killed everybody in that place. Now, sometimes when you go into the Bible, I'm pretty sure we remember the story where God told, who did he tell him to kill everybody and not bring nothing back?
He told Saul.
He told Saul. Give me a little bit on that story.
Sir, if you want, sir, can I bring up a precept to match that before you bring that one out, if I could?
Go ahead.
This is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 3, and verse 4. In his acts, he was like a lion, and like a lion's whelp roaring for his prey. Verse 5, for he pursued the wicked and sought them out and burned up those that vexed his people. Wow. So this is talking about, I believe then his son Judas called Maccabeus rose up in the city. So this is a story about Maccabeus when they were fighting the Greeks. So when they were fighting the Greeks, it was similar to these brothers. The oppressor, the same person, the oppressor, were coming against us, and we acted as, what did they describe him there, sir?
Man, vicious, ferozamente.
Vicious. Same thing. Right, they're saying that in his acts, he was like a lion.
Oh, con.
So right. You know what I'm saying? Even it's in our blood. It's in our blood to be like that in a time of war.
Con, it's funny you say that because we use that word ferozamente. Feroz is what you call a lion.
Right.
Un gato feroz, a furious lion. And the word feroz in Spanish is pretty much the word you use to describe a vicious animal, a ferocious animal. And that's what they were calling these Dagao and all these caciques. They were calling them ferocious men. You know what I'm saying? Without ¿qué dice? Fiera. Quintín Navarro, absolutely. Son una fiera, ferocious. You know what I'm saying? Khan, absolutely. Go ahead.
Khan, so this is the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 15, verse. Let me find it real quick. Salakia.
So when you describe how these men were, when you're talking about Jamacao, when you're talking about Canovox as well, especially Jamacao, Dagao, and that other brother, what's his name, Yauribo, you're talking about ferocious men or men of war or like men with no sympathy whatsoever in killing Spaniard people. And these three men, man, when I read the story of Jamacao and these men, It reminds me of the story of the Aztec warriors that were going out there and wiping out the Spaniards and bringing fear into them. Go ahead.
So this is 1 Samuel chapter 15 and verse 1. Samuel also said unto Saul, the Lord sent me to anoint thee to be king over his people, over Israel. Now therefore hearken thou unto the voice of the words of the Lord. Verse 2. Thus said the Lord of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt. Verse 3. Now go and smite Amalek, and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. Verse 4. And Saul gathered the people together and numbered them in Telaim, 200,000 footmen and 10,000 men of Judah. You want me to keep going, sir?
Okay, kind of a little bit more.
Kind of, sir. Verse 5. And Saul came to a city of Amalek and laid wait in the valley. Verse 6. And Saul said unto the Kenites, go, depart, get you down from among the Amalekites, lest I destroy you with them. For ye showed kindness to all the children of Israel when they came up out of Egypt. So the Kenites departed from among the Amalekites. Verse 7. And Saul smote the Amalekites from Havilah until thou comest to Shur, that is over against Egypt. Verse 8. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. Verse 9. But Saul and the people spared Agag, and the best of the sheep, and of the oxen, and of the fatlings, and the lambs, and all that was good, and would not utterly destroy them. But everything that was vile and refuse, they destroyed utterly. Verse 10. Then came the word of the Lord unto Samuel, saying, verse 11. It repenteth me that I have set up Saul to be king, for he has turned back from following me, and had not performed my commandments. And it grieved Samuel, and he cried unto the Lord all night. Verse 12. And when Samuel rose early to meet Saul in the morning, it was told Samuel, saying, Saul came to Carmel, and behold, he set him up a place, and is gone about, and passed on, and gone down to Gilgal. Verse 13. And Samuel came to Saul, and Saul said to him, Blessed be thou of the Lord, I have performed the commandment of the Lord. Verse 14. And Samuel said, What meaneth then this bleating of the sheep in mine ears, that and the lowing of the oxen which I hear? Verse 15. And Saul said, They have brought them from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and of the oxen, to sacrifice unto the Lord thy God, and the rest we have utterly destroyed.
Okay, but now we know that they were the ones who went in, and the Lord told them to destroy everything. They weren't supposed to bring nothing back.
Right.
And that's the same thing with the Taino Indians. When they went, they weren't taking nothing from the Spaniards. They weren't expecting to take any kind of, what would they say, spoils.
Right.
They didn't want no spoils. What they wanted was to get rid of these people.
Right.
You know, they knew better. They knew better than to take any spoils from them or to take anything from them. I'm pretty sure the Native American Indian was the same way. The Native American Indian didn't want nothing from the white man. What they wanted him was him off his land. They didn't want anything else but for him to leave. The Aztec people, I'm pretty sure that once they found out what this was all about, they didn't want to have nothing to do with the Spaniards. All they wanted was them off their land or away from them. You know what I'm saying? So let's go back to the story, because we're going into the chronicles, right, that were written by the Spaniards during the time of the conquest of Boriken, the Tainos, and the island of Puerto Rico. Go ahead.
So, like, sir, I don't mean to cut you off, but I'd like to bring this last part out to show that even back then, when we knew who the Lord was and when we served the Lord, we was just as fierce as we were when we were fighting against the Spaniards. So this is what Samuel did to the king that Saul didn't kill, King Agag. This was a Samuel, a prophet of the Most High, did. Verse 33. And Samuel said, As thy sword has made woman childless, so shall thy mother be childless among women. And Samuel hewed Agag in pieces before the Lord in Gilgal. You know what I'm saying, sir? So people think that, you know, when you come and serve the Most High, because of Christianity and Catholicism, that you have to be soft and humble and weak, and you don't have to fight. You don't have to bring justice when that's a lie. When you come to the Lord is all about war. And that's exactly why our brothers, the so-called Taínos, who are today Puerto Ricans, who are really from the tribe of Ephraim, the tribe of Parayim, right? So-called Puerto Ricans. That's why they had that spirit when they're fighting against the Spaniards, because they come from the 12 tribes. You understand? The people who serve a God who is a God of war. That's why they were like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just like that, we're seeing that the Taino Indian was exactly what Oscar Ward is talking about. So let's go on and read a little bit about the Taino Indian and what happened with him. So this is according to the chronicles. The attacks in Piraguas de la Bautista, Isla de San Juan Bautista. Okay, so Salakia, let me so we heard about the Taino attack in where was I at? In Santiago. So
you want me to read it for you, sir?
It's in Spanish. I'm translating it. Are you gonna be able to translate it?
I mean, after reading, you can translate it.
Oh man, it's gonna be hard because let me jump on it because I'm trying to get it. Okay, según las crónicas, los ataques en Piraguas afectaron en toda la costa norte de la Bautista Isla de San Juan Bautista. So, according to the chronicles, the attacks in Piraguas were in effect throughout all the northern coast of the island of San Bautista, all the way unto Anasaco. Se reportaron unos 15 ataques solo en 1513. So there was 15 attacks on that island in 1 year in 1513 and doubled in 1514. Se le atribuye al Casimiro haber dado muerte al noble Martín de Guiluz. So they attribute that the murder of the death of the nobleman Martín de Guiluz is attributed to the cacique Casimar, which is another warrior of the Taino people, right? En este ataque es asesinado el capitán Sebastián Alonso. They also kill the captain Sebastián Alonso. Now, the reason why they're naming all these people is because these were high-ranking people. These were people who were given haciendas, who were given ranks as soldiers, who were given command over other troops. And what they're seeing here, that these Taino Indians, who were supposed to be passive, who were supposed to be hospitable and nice, were in no way what they thought. They were wiping out all these soldiers, wiping out all these towns, wiping out all these generals and noblemen like if they were nothing. You know what I'm saying? En el verano de 1514, el cacique Casimir entró a la bahía de San Juan con 300 guerreros en varias piraguas y atacó los barcos españoles, logrando quemar 2 de ellos. So, in 1514, this cacique Casimar entered into the bahía of San Juan with 300 warriors. Man, imagine. You got these Taino people who were supposedly being wiped out, right? That's what they're talking about. They're supposedly being wiped out. When you read the history of the Taino people, they talk about, oh, the Spaniards went and wiped them out. The Taino people got wiped out. They're all dead. But according to the chronicles of the Spaniards, we're reading that there was 300 warriors who went to various places in the Piraguas, and they burned the ships of the Spaniards. They were able to burn 2 of their ships completely, and they waged war on the others. You know what I'm saying? Ese mismo día, las huestes de Casimira se adentraron por el río Bayamón y atacaron a las haciendas de Bayamón. So on that same, On that same day, the soldiers of Casimar, they jumped into the Rio Bayamón and they attacked the haciendas of Bayamón, logrando asesinar a los hacendados Alberto Pérez y Benito Velázquez. So they were able to kill the haciendados, which are, what does it say? The hacienda is
the haciendos is the
Man, what is that?
But
Man, it slipped my mind.
You said it was the slave plantations, right?
Yeah, the plantation, the water. So they were able to go into the plantation and kill Albert Perez and Benito Velasquez, and they were able to free 200 Taínos that were used as slaves they were used as slaves in the gold mines and in the local rivers. Antes de terminar el mes de octubre, before the end of October 1514, Casimar, Yaribo, and Dagao attacked for the 5th time the haciendas or the plantations, right, of the zone of Locia and Canovanas. The plantations that Pedro Mexis were destroyed. Nothing was left. No Spaniard was left alive. They then advanced over to the plantation of Pedro Lopez de Angulo and were destroyed by El Cacique Casimira. According to the chronicles, the Spaniard Francisco de Quindos, according to the chronicles, the Spaniard Francisco de Quindos threw a spear and killed the cacique Vieque. Vieque is a Taíno Indian. Okay, so Francisco threw a spear that went through Casimar and killed Vieque. Muerto Casimar, su hermano. And absolutely, man, it was his brother. That's what it's saying. So, man, Salakia, I'm reading in Spanish, translating into English. It's fire, man, so I got to read it, you know. Yarubi siguió la batalla, apresando al capitán Sancho de Aragon. So, Yarubi continued the battle and took captive Sancho de Aragon, dueño del perro Bacerío. Okay, so he took him captive. He's the one he took captive the man who killed his brother Casimar. And absolutely, okay, so he killed him. Esos días los españoles perdieron cientos de hombres. That day the Spaniards lost hundreds of men on the attacks of the caciques Diago, Casimir, and Yaribo. Salakia, I'm going into it. The cacique Hamacao, Hamacao was possibly in an area called Yunque, where he was able to hide the Taínos that he had freed. Through the fierce attacks of Casimiro and Yaribo, the Captain Cristobal de Mendoza organized an expedition on the islands of Vieques, on two ship excavations with 150 Spanish soldiers. Okay, well, I'm gonna stop right there. The rest is just more of the killing, but let me get to the point. And if you want to know, this was taken from the book Historia Militar de Puerto Rico from Héctor Andrés Negroni. That's where it comes from. And notas, that's where the story comes from. So anyways, let me get back and get into my senses. What you're hearing here is the story of how the Taíno Indian was not completely wiped out. The Taíno Indian was not a passive Indian. He was not an Indian that was mellow and what did they say? Just a friendly Indian. In no way. They were warriors. They were warriors who gathered together and attacked the Spaniards and wiped out complete cities. Man, they were on a war path. Salakia, if my reading was kind of, a little slow, but of course I'm translating from Spanish to English, doing the best I can. I hope you could understand it and you understood what it was all about. But the point is that what I'm getting into is how the Taino Indian was just like the Aztec, just like the Native American Indian, and just like our black brothers and sisters in America, how we were a warrior people, how we were a people of war, like the Lord is. How we didn't have no compassion for the Taino Indians. With the story you're hearing, they had no compassion for them. They went out there on a war path to wipe out the Spaniards. That's what the Taino Indian went out there for. He went out there to wage war after who knows how long of trying to be friendly, of trying to be, calm and patient, and try to be, love everybody. They finally realized that you can't love the white man. You know what I mean? That's what they finally realized. They finally realized that the white man is not your friend, that the white man is not here to become friendly with you. The Spaniard in no way was there to make a peace treaty or show love to the Taino people. In no way. They went there to wipe them out. And these fierce men, these warrior men, these men of valor, these men of war did exactly what they had to do. And that was rise up and wage war against their enemy. And just to let you know, the enemy that they had is the same enemy the Mexican had, the same enemy the Central American had, the same enemy the black man and the Native American Indian had. They're the same enemy. And it's funny because, today, you see the boxing matches, and when Puerto Rican goes up against a Mexican, we have hate for each other. We fighting against each other. We coming at each other because a Puerto Rican and a Mexican are fighting. Because, oh man, the Puerto Ricans, they ain't our people. And the Puerto Ricans talk about the Mexicans, they ain't our people. You know what I'm saying? And when we see these kind of things, this type of history should tell us that they were a warrior people who fought against our enemy. The same enemy that attacked the Mexicas, the Aztecs, the Salvadoranians, the Mayans, the Incas, right? The same people. And when we get into the 12 tribes chart, the same person who enslaved our brothers, right? The Judite brothers, these are the same people that came and waged war against us. The Ishikarites, right? Who else? The Levites, the Benjamites, the Manasseh. Those same people waged war against us. You know what I'm saying? And today we're over here struggling, talking about, you ain't my brother. You Mexican, you a wetback, or Mexican, you a nigger, or you a spick, or you a savage. You know what I'm saying? The same people that went through the same thing as we did have now become our enemies. We have now seen them different. Why? Because once they couldn't wage war on us physically, they began to wage war on us psychologically. Once they knew that they could not win us at war on a level of military, then they began to wage war on us psychologically. They began to destroy us mentally. Why did they do that? Because they knew that in the battlefield, they were done. They could not put up a fight with Mexicans, with blacks, Native American Indians, or Puerto Ricans. They exactly knew what they were up against. They knew that we are a warrior people. And that when we wake up and we decide, man, we've had enough of this, they know that that's the time that they're going to be in trouble. The day Black, Hispanics, and Native American Indians get together, man, that day is the day of reckoning for the white man. That's the day he's going to realize that the people that he oppressed are now waking up and coming together, and that now life is not going to be as easy for them as it's been all this time. And when you read the history of these people, the Tainos, when you read the history of the Aztec, the Mexica, the Toltecs, the Otomis, and all these people, and then you read the history of the Black brothers and sisters, man, the Native American Indians, you start to realize, man, that we're not just regular people, that we ain't just, we're not going to sit down and let this happen. The story I read about today, la historia de los taínos y del cacique Casimar y el cacique Jamaica, Dagawao y Ganaway, This story here that you hear, man, is an important story in history, because we've been taught that the Taíno people and el pueblo de Boricua, the Boricuan people, were mellow people, people not of war, a simple people. But you know what? The chronicles that the Spaniards write about the attacks that they received from the Taíno people tell a different story about the Boricuan people, about the Taíno. It shows there that these people were warrior people. Just the way I told you the story of the Mexicas, the Aztec people, La Raza Otomí, the warrior Otomí people, the Boricuan people are just the same. Just the way you hear the story of the black brothers who rose up during the slave time, you know, same thing. You had great people who rose up. The Native American Indian, Sitting Bull, and who else, man? They got plenty of them, right? Plenty of Native American Indian brothers who rose up to war against these people.
Right.
The problem is that we think that America is a great place, but in reality, America has been devastating to Black, Hispanic, and Native American Indians. The story that America really has is not the story that you heard in your school. You know what I'm saying? That's not that story. Even Mexico, the story that we heard about Mexico, about how the Spaniard, the conquistadores took Mexico, that's not necessarily true. El Conquistador did not take Mexico. The tribes of Mexico gathered together with Cortez to destroy the Mexica people and to take Mexico, and they lost everything because they united with their enemy. Because these tribes gathered with the Spaniards to fight against the Mexica, we lost everything. We lost a whole nation because we chose to help our enemy rather than to help our own people. You know what I'm saying? You got something to say?
Nah, so you said it. You say you going in, sir. So life, I ain't got nothing to say, sir.
You know what I'm saying? So when we think about it, when we go into the history of our people, we realize what a great people we are. You know what I'm saying? What a great nation we are. What a great people we are, Black, Hispanic, and Native American Indians. And you know what? When we start realizing that we're God's chosen people, that God loves us above every nation that's on the face of the earth, that we're a special people to him. You know what I'm saying? That he chose us above everybody. That's what the Bible says. And that he is a man of war, then you realize what a great person you are. You know what I'm saying? Man, how are you going to think that a basketball player is great, or a boxer is great, or a movie star is great, or a singer is great? How are you going to give that? You know, you go out there and you take pictures with these people. You want to put them on your wall. You want to put them on your Facebook. You want to make them seem like they're the greatest thing, you know, you've ever seen, when you're the greatest thing you've ever seen. When you yourself are a great person. When you yourself are the greatest thing on the face of this earth. We're the warriors. You know what the problem is? That you, just like they made the Taíno scene, you give up your greatness and give it to somebody else. You give up the great spirit that the Lord gave you and you give it to someone else. And you know what they're doing? They're giving their greatness to the enemy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the truth. When you see these baseball players, these football players, these movie stars, these singers, they're giving that greatness to someone who's making money off of them. They're making the big money.
Right.
They're making scraps off the table. What was that? What was that football player who walked off the field?
Come on, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Michael something.
You want me to read the story for you?
Yeah, Khan. Walked off the field. Like during the game, this brother just decided to walk off the field. He got into a fight with this with the coach, and then he decided, man, I had enough of this game, and walked off the field. He walked off. He walked away from millions of dollars. That's what everybody's saying. Man, that guy, he walked away from a $1 million contract. He walked away from his career. You got him? What's his name? Go ahead.
Antonio Brown. This is from News. Antonio Brown removes jersey, storms off field in dramatic team exit. The Buccaneers wide receiver is no longer with the team following the show of defiance, Tampa Bay's coach said. Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Antonio Brown put off his jersey and left the field before the end of his team's 28-24 win over the New York Jets on Sunday, hastening his exit from the organization. Head coach Bruce Arians said after the game that Brown, 33, was no longer a Buck.
Wow.
Brown's display included removing his jersey, his shoulder pads, his undershirt, and his glove, giving the crowd a peace sign, and leaving MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. According to Jay Glazer of NFL on Fox, which aired the game, Arians repeatedly ordered Brown into the game, but the receiver refused, prompting him to send Brown to the locker room. Never seen anything like it in all my years, Arians was quoted as saying. Arians told reporters on Monday that he was not aware of any injuries that would have prevented Brown from playing. It's pretty obvious what happened. He left the field and that was it, Arians said. We had a conversation and he left. Excuse me. And he left the field. Arians said Monday he hasn't spoken to Brown or a representative for the players since he stormed off the sidelines about 20 hours earlier in New Jersey. I care about him a bunch. I hope that he is okay, the coach said. We all love him, he said. We care about him deeply, you know. We want to see him be at his best. And, you know, unfortunately, it won't be with our team.
Wow. Well, let me tell you, let me end it there. You know, this brother had enough. You know what I'm saying? Who knows why he walked out? But one thing is for sure, you know, to him it was more important who he was than all the money he was receiving. He probably got tired of all the nonsense that they were pushing on them, that he was one of the few that decided, you know what? You can keep your money. I'm going to walk off this field because who knows what goes on behind those closed doors. Go ahead.
I believe there's a valid reason why he walked out the field. I don't want to just say it. It says in his first statement since leaving the field in the third quarter of Tampa Bay Buccaneers game at New York Jet on Sunday, Antonio Brown said he was forced to play on an injured ankle that will require surgery, which is why he exited so abruptly.
Wow. I
heard that, and then I also heard I guess that's the reason. That's what it says here. So shoot. It's like a slave.
Yeah, it's like a slave. Yeah, I don't care what's wrong with you. You got to go out there and play. It's like us. You know, you got COVID. Well, it doesn't matter. As soon as you don't have any more symptoms, come back to work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They don't give a damn.
Exactly.
You know, they're like, oh, you have symptoms? Well, it doesn't matter. You know, you got to come back to work. For my brother Quintil Navarro, the book that you can that for the caciques, for the story of the island of Boricua is Historia Militar de Puerto Rico, de Héctor Andres Negorin. I'll make sure that I post it up for you can see it before it ends, okay? So let's see. Jessica Linthicum says, I watched the interview and he said that they tried to offer him $200,000 to put him in the mental home or something like that. Wow, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Let me tell you something. Even though our brothers fought for the island, right, of Borican, even though they fought, let me tell you, in the end, they lost it all, right? You know why they lost it all? Because their own people gave in to their conquistadores. I believe it was in during the 1900s, right? Let me see. The Romans invaded, and they took over the island of Borican. And in the somewhere in the 20th century, right? They had another cat named Charles Herbert Allen. He became the governor of Puerto Rico. He served 17 months and took all the land from the Borican people and turned it into sugar plantations. And in those 17 months, this white man stole Puerto Rico from the people and made it the biggest sugar plantation corporation of all the islands. And he became extremely rich and made all of his corporations rich. Actually, it was in 1901. and he made all these corporations rich, and he straight up stole the Borican island from the Puerto Rican people. This bastard known as Charles Herbert Allen was not even he wasn't even a politician. Well, he wasn't a good politician, put it that way. He was supposedly military, he was supposed to be a politician, but you know what? The problem is that the American government, like always, placed him in charge of the island of Puerto Rico. And with that, he took over all of the land and turned it into plantations. And the people turned into slaves all over again. And it was a sugar, the sugar bust of the 1900s. And sugar became the #1 import. And not only, you're talking about that in Puerto Rico, but on the other side, in the same time span, in the 1900s, you had the United Fruit Company out in Guatemala and Honduras, taking all the land from the people of Guatemala and Honduras and Dominica Republicana and making it banana plantations, and making what we know today as Chiquita Banana, the United Fruit Company, a multi-billion-dollar corporation, another American corporation that did the same thing. So in the 1900s, in the early 1900s, America was just going into El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, what else? Cuba, right? With what was that? Man, what would you call it? The Las Vegas, the slots and all that, gambling and all that into their area, and did the same thing. So, man, in loss of words, but in a way of saying, America and its corporations went out and took over all of Latin America and turned all of Latin America into their one plantation. And that's how America became great, through taking our natural resources, our land, our working hands, mano de obra, and everything we had, and they became rich. And what did we become? What did we become? We became slaves to these people.
Right.
And today we're still the same slaves.
Right.
We just a different type of slave now. But we still the same slave as always. You know what I mean? It's no different. It's something that when you begin to read the history of our people, you begin to understand how bad we really are. And it took people like these men, Casimar, Yauribe, Vieques, and all these great warriors who were Puerto Ricans or Borican, who fought against the oppressor, you know what I'm saying, till their death, you know what I mean? And they were like, you know what, land or death. And if you're Mexican, and give me 1 second because I'm giving out this book right here. Okay, Historia Militar de Puerto Rico, for Quintín Navarro. That's the book right there, okay? And this is the writer, Hector. I'm just putting this up real quick for you guys can see. If you need to find this book, excellent book to read. Give me 1 second while I finish this. We're about to finish the class anyway, so if you got any questions, any comments, you know what I'm saying, go ahead, feel free to ask them right now while I'm typing this out. Negroni, Salakia, Negroni. Okay, there you go. All right, there it is. If you're on my StreamYard, the name of the book just went up. Historia Militar de Puerto Rico. Héctor Andrés Negroni is the name of the book. Excellent read, excellent read. The story of Vieques, the story of the Borican, Puerto Rican uprise of the Taíno Indian against the Spaniards. And the point was that the Spaniard people were not just any kind of people. They were not humble. They were not soft. They were not weak. They were not just that. They were, you know what? They were humble people, but they were not weak people. They were humble people, but they were not people to take for granted. When they began to wage their war against the Spaniard, they made sure that they made history during the war of Borican against these Spaniard bastards. The same way the Aztecs, the Purupeches, the Mixta War in Mexico, as I mentioned at the beginning, same way that the Taino people did waged war. And the whole purpose of it is to let you know, man, that, you know what, we are men of war. That's why we do what we do in the ISUPK. That's why we go out on the streets. That's why we speak the way we speak. That's why we have no compassion when we say that, you know, the white man's the devil that the Bible speaks of. That's why we have no compassion when we say and we mention the atrocities that you've committed on my people. And that's why we don't have no compassion when we go out there and we speak up against all that you've done against Black, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. This nation has gone beyond, you know, just a simple taking over. They've waged war, a war of death against us. You know what I'm saying? And when we go out there and we speak all this, man, we do it because our spirit tells us, because the Lord has called us at the appointed time that we might go out there and speak to the wind, that it may carry the message to our brothers and sisters, man, that they might wake up and rise up as one, that we might all gather. And as we all speak, the Lord will hear the voices of, you know, of his children and call him by his name, that he might come back and free us from this captivity that we find ourselves in today. You know what I'm saying? Our Native American Indian brothers continue being the, you know, slaves to this place. The Latinos, the Mexicanos, man, we still in the detention centers. Come on now. My Black brothers and sisters are still being murdered in the streets of America. You know what I'm saying? So let me tell you something, man. It's up to us to come together and raise a voice and call our people so that we might wake up. And you know where it's going to happen? Right here in the ISUPK. You know what I'm saying? Because this is where you're going to find the truth. This is where you're going to find the Lord's priests and prophets. Right. You know what I'm saying? This is where we're at. This is what the Lord has chosen for all of us. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, before we go, just a reminder, man, tomorrow, One West Radio, you know what I'm saying, with Captain Gadahar every Thursday night at 10 p.m. You know what I mean? So tune in to the ISUPK Hollywood Israelites, ISUPK Los Angeles. You know what I'm saying? Jump on, check out the show, Captain Gadahar on it, pushing that heavy truth. You know what I'm saying? And don't forget, during the week, ISUPK Puerto Rico, el hogar de la verdad, the home of the truth. You know what I'm saying? Captain Asha Parayam and all of his people over there, straight out of Puerto Rico, straight out of New York. You know what I'm saying? You can find ISUPK Puerto Rico Spanish classes en español. If you got somebody, si tienes a alguien who only speaks Spanish, you want to get him into the truth, you want him to understand what's going on, you know what I'm saying? Bring him into ISUPK Puerto Rico. We got that class going on every week with Captain Asha Parayam. You know, don't forget, we got the 53rd annual Passover coming up, April 15th at sundown. Feast of Unleavened Bread, April 16th. You know what I mean? It's going to be in Florida. Book your flight. Get your tickets. Get ready, man. This is going to be the place to be. The 53rd annual Lord's Passover at Cocoa Beach, Florida, man. It's going to be off the hook. You know what I'm saying? You know what it is. And for everybody else, don't forget, man, we got ISUPK Mexico. I'm on class every Tuesday. Tune in. ISUPK Mexico. Another class we got there with that, man. I'm going to leave you with that clip one more time. The water for watching. Till next week, I leave you with this here. Shalom, Israel.
Negros y indios nativos somos los verdaderos israelitas. ¿Esto dónde lo dice según el versículo? Esto dice en la Biblia. Está escrita en la Reina Valera.
We got to live in this district. The whiteys don't come down here, man, and live in the fucked up houses, man. The whiteys don't come down here, man, and have all the fucked fucked up fucking no heat in the fucking winter time. You understand? We do, Jack. So therefore, like, wow, we got to make it a better place. You understand that?
Like they want to make it a racial problem, you know. So we didn't want that, you know. So I jumped in, I put in for my boy because he's a black brother. You know? So we made an unracial problem.
We the Puerto Ricans should rise up and defend ourselves against these dogs. The North American is trying to steal our identity as Puerto Ricans and call us Americans. We Puerto Ricans are Puerto Ricans till the day we are born, until the day we die.
Chicanos killing Chicanos is what they want. Blacks and Chicanos killing each other is what they want. That's how they run this place. Once we get together, they don't run shit.